Donald Trump's photo op negotiation with Democrats was supposed to give him a kind of a lift, to show him in presidential command, and this is classic Trump. The medium is the message. He aims to look good negotiating without caring what he's even negotiating about, and betting a lot of other people won't care either. But that strategy now running into a wall, and I don't mean a border wall. Trump gave Democrats so much rhetorically in the meeting on tape that his base began rebelling, which led to that now infamous White House transcript claiming Trump did not fold on the wall. The White House, we should note, has since corrected it. Conservatives blasting this meeting.
Donald Trump could not possibly believe that he could abandon his 3-year position on immigration and still maintain the support of his base. Donald Trump just could not be that obtuse.
He could not be that obtuse, or then again, Limbaugh says maybe he only cares about the medium and not the substance.
Take two is that Trump was on the verge of getting rolled yesterday because he really doesn't care about immigration or anything else. All he cares about is being loved and being liked.
Just like us, we all want to be loved. But there's something going on here. You know, in every other week of the Trump presidency, this is the kind of fight that Steve Bannon would relish. He'd position himself between Trump and the base. He'd tell both sides that Bannon, he is the key to saving Trumpism. But why is this night different from all other nights? I suspect you already know. Trump's billionaire has now basically ousted with a one-time ally Bannon from Breitbart News, where he had a megaphone. Trump world also enraged with Bannon for likening Donald Trump Jr. to a snowflake egg waiting for a Mueller cracking. Now, we don't have a rebuttal from Bannon tonight because that street fighter is unusually silent.
I'm a street fighter. That's what I am.
You're more than that.
No, I think I'm a street fighter.
Let's get into it. I'm joined by Tom Steyer, a Democratic heavy hitter, a political donor who's pledged to spend $30 million in the midterms. Wow. And Max Boot, a foreign policy analyst, former advisor to Mitt Romney. His new book is The Road Not Taken. We start with conservative infighting. So I begin with you, Mr. Boot. Is this about something, or is this about nothing?
Well, first off, I would not characterize this, Ari, as conservative infighting. I would not call Steve Bannon a conservative. I would not call Donald Trump a conservative. Now, I think in the case of Bannon, he does have some kind of crackpot ideology that you can call populism, nationalism, what have you, Bannonism maybe.
Bannonism.
In the case of Donald Trump, I wouldn't even go that far. I mean, his ideology is basically Donald Trump uber alles. I mean, that's what he's about. It's about getting as much power as possible, getting as much esteem as possible, getting the love of the crowds, being in the center of the spotlight. That's what he's about. He has some other impulses, to be sure, which are largely, I would say, racist, protectionist, xenophobic, nativist, etc. But those are just impulses. It's not like a well-thought-out philosophy. For Donald Trump, it's all about Donald Trump. And you saw that in the immigration meeting where one minute he's saying, oh, yeah, we can basically deliver the Democratic agenda on immigration. And then he doesn't realize what he's saying and then walks it back and they take it out of the transcript. But that's a sign that, you know, Donald Trump is just a bundle of competing impulses. And the only consistent thread is really self-promotion.
Wow. I mean, as often is the case, Max Boot puts it all in one big, strong paragraph. Tom, I want to get your response, but to Max's point, I want to play another moment from there, because there is the argument that even the people who are allied with Trump, when you get him at a negotiating table, it's like keeping water in a backpack. I mean, no matter how good you are, you can't do it. And I want to play what we rarely do around here. This is a double clip. This is a clip you may have seen the beginning, which is the exchange with Kevin McCarthy, and then my colleague Brian Williams giving his view of what was going on. Take a look.
Mr. President, you need to be clear, though. I think what Senator Feinstein's asking here, when we talk about just DACA, we don't want to be back here 2 years later. You have to have security, as the Secretary would tell you.
But I think that's what she's saying.
No, I think she's saying something different.
What do you think I'm saying?
I'm thinking you're saying DACA without security.
Love the effort to DACA-splain things to Senator Feinstein.
Tom, I don't know if you know the term DACA-splaining, but what did you, as a businessman and a sometime political activist, make of this meeting? What matters here?
Look, from our standpoint, we want a clean DACA, period. And what we can see the president doing is he's confused in this negotiating about exactly what he's giving away and what he stands for. But that doesn't matter to us, because what we've seen in the first year of the Trump administration is a hard right agenda. He's said a lot of things in meetings that he's walked away from. You cannot take this man's word as his bond because it's very far from his bond. The fact of the matter is, if you look through Mr. Trump's first year, he has walked away from everything except a hard right health care plan, a hard right tax plan, a hard right immigration plan. Everything that when you really get to cutting the mustard, he is always on the hard right. So whatever he says in the interim, I think should be ignored. The fact of the matter is, this is a president who has determined that his interest, his allies, his constituencies are on the radical right end of the spectrum, and that is where he has inevitably gone right up to this Monday when he said the people from El Salvador who've been here for so long are going to have to leave.
Right. So, what you're making is a kind of an analysis that you can't look at the top of the wave or the surfboard because there's always this undertow. And so while Donald Trump may move and move around, he's always sucked back because you said he's made common cause with these allies. Contrast that, though, to the other big debate that's been going on now all week with Fire and Fury, because your tweet, you said it's required reading for every member of Congress. We're delivering a copy to each and every one of them. I don't know if you got a thank you bouquet from Michael Wolff yet or not. That's a lot of books, Tom. But one could argue that the thesis of that book is a little different than the thesis you just offered, that he always lands hard right, because that book lands more on what Max was just saying, that it's all nothingness.
Well, let's draw a distinction between the man and his personality issues and the agenda that he's pursued. What I was describing was the agenda that he has pursued, regardless of what he said. I'm saying ignore the verbiage. When push comes to shove, he has gone hard right. Michael, the book, Fire and Fury, is all about whether or not he is fit for office as a person, about whether he is trustworthy, whether he is dependable, whether he is capable of making these judgments and these distinctions. So I would say, when we talk about the need to impeach, we are saying he's unfit for office. We're saying he's dangerous to the American people, and that has a lot to do with his actions. The fact of the matter is he has met the criteria for impeachment in many ways. And in addition, but I'd say separately, he has pursued this hard right agenda.
Right. Max, a response.
Consistently.
Well, what I would say is I'm not sure that he has pursued a consistent hard right agenda. He has certainly done a lot of hard right things that I think are very objectionable, but often not very well thought out, like, saying that the white supremacist protesters in Charlottesville are, very fine people, or, pardoning Sheriff Arpaio, or now talking about deporting these 200,000 poor Salvadorans. He certainly has those hard right impulses. It's not very consistent, though, because he also has a lot of people in the administration who are pushing another way. And, for example, now are trying to push him not to blow up the Iran nuclear deal, which I think would be an irresponsible thing to do. And he's thinking about doing it, but he's also, to some extent, contained. But I think that the point that Tom was just making was a good one about how, and I think at the end of the day, the case against Trump is not that he is this hard right reactionary, although he has elements of that. I think the case against him is that he's unfit to be president, and he is daily demeaning the presidency. He is dividing the country. He is subverting the rule of law. That's really the case against Trump. It's not so much on ideological grounds. It's that by character and by temperament, he is just not fit to occupy the highest office.
And that's where you and Tom clearly agree. We're out of time, but Tom, I want to ask you while I have you, the other thing that was revealed this week is that Steve Bannon is not that tough. He was just loaded up with this money. And as soon as they pulled the money, he's gone quiet. You have different ideologies than, say, the Mercers, and you're very involved. But what makes you that different if you're spending tens of millions of dollars and then presumably a lot of Democrats are going to owe you? My question to you is, aren't people like you part of the problem if you have too much power over our democracy?
Well, let me say this. We agree there should be a reform of money in government for sure in the United States. We consider it a huge problem. We try to be responsible in the context of the system that we have that we believe is the best system in the world, but it's surely imperfect. But let me say this too, Ari. What we do in every single thing we do is promote a broader democracy. That is what we spend our money on. We actually spend our money trying to register, engage, and involve the citizens. Everything we do is about the answer to our problems is more democracy. Even the need to impeach campaign is an attempt to empower American citizens so that their voice organized together and put together is more like direct democracy, so elected officials have to listen to them. It's not that they have to listen to me. It's not about me. None of this is about me. This is all about, can we involve and engage the American people so that their voice is heard more loudly in the halls of power, so that the elected officials can't ignore the actual people who run our country, which is the people of the United States.